The topic I want to discuss, I can't believe I'm discussing this, that this is a story right now, 150 days on, but here goes. The United Nations this week declared that there was most likely evidence that sexual violence took place on October 7th during the Hamas massacre.
We also found that there are reasonable grounds to believe that conflict-related sexual violence, including rape and gang rape, occurred during the 7th of October attacks in at least 3 locations, namely the Nova Music Festival site and its surroundings, Road 232 and Kibbutz Reim.
So let me just respond to that. Firstly, with a slow clap. And the UN barely deserved that. It took them 150 days. It took them months, with reports and investigations of Hamas bragging about it. It took them this long to come to this conclusion, after they themselves downplayed it, after they remained silent. And look, you can say to me, well, the UN had to do its due diligence. It had to investigate. And you know what? That's fine if that was the case. The UN investigation took a couple of weeks. 2 weeks, I believe is what I read. And they couldn't have done that earlier. Yet, on other things, they have been very quick to make pronouncements when it's come to Israel. In November, remember the attack happened on October 7th, and the war began after that attack. In November, the UN was making statements telling Israel to ensure that there was no genocide in Gaza, based on no evidence. It was very clear that Israel wasn't trying to commit a genocide. It was very evident that Israel wasn't going to commit a genocide. You don't drop leaflets and warn the places that you're going to be bombing for terrorists that you're going to be bombing them. You don't help people evacuate if you're trying to commit genocide. You don't ensure that aid is getting to these places if you're trying to commit a genocide. But even then, just over a month after the attacks and the war, the UN felt confident enough to make this statement. And throughout, since October 7th, the UN has made numerous statements. The UN Organization for Women actually had an article about the women of Gaza in January. But now in March, that is when the UN says, oh, there was evidence of sexual violence.
And in most of these incidents, victims were first subjected to rape and then killed. And at least 2 incidents relate to the rape of women's corpses. With regard to the hostages taken to Gaza, we found clear and convincing information that sexual violence, including rape, sexualized torture, cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment, has been committed against captives. And we also have reasonable grounds to believe that such violence may still be ongoing against those still held in captivity.
We know, we've been telling you, we've been imploring you to speak up. This is an organization devoid of morals, ethics, and it has an aversion to the truth. More information came out this week about UNRWA and the UNRWA staff being complicit and taking part in the massacre. UNRWA, remember, is a UN body. We've become so desensitized to the suffering of Israelis. We've become so desensitized to the murder and sexual abuse of Israelis that this is where we're at. I read something which really troubled me yesterday when the report first came out. Somebody commented, somebody who identified themselves as a student at UCLA studying philosophy, asking why they hadn't seen evidence of the sexual assault. But he went on to say, well, I saw videos of people being tortured and I saw videos of people being shot, but I didn't see anyone getting raped. I'd like to see those. Like, what on earth kind of society are we living in? And I'm not ascribing any sort of nefarious intention to this person. But who in their right mind wants to see rape videos? There's something deeply wrong with our society. And I guess the UN is just a wider reflection of it. Jew hatred does something cancerous to the mind and the soul. And that's why we have to fight it. That's why we have to fight for truth. And that's why Over 150 days have gone, but we must maintain our will, our courage, and our voice in speaking out for Israel and the Jewish people right now, just as we did on October 8th. At a time like this, at a moment like this in history, a silent ally is not an ally at all. This is Kasim Hafeez for the CUFI Weekly. For Zion's sake, do not remain silent.
Thanks for checking out this episode. Be sure to like and subscribe so you get a notification every time a new episode hits. And if you want to check out some of our previous episodes, and we've got some really good ones, click on one of the thumbnails and that will take you right there. And finally, if you want to know more about CUFI and the work we do, go to cufi.org to check out all the resources we have available free to you.